Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and we have been running through those Bowtech. So we got another Bowtech. This is their budget bow. I think it's their only budget bow besides all the diamond bows, which are kind of their sub-companies. On the Bowtech website, this is their one kind of really well-priced budget type bow. I can't believe it took me so long to get here since we've done almost every other bow that they've put out in the last couple of years. I love Bowtech. I've hunted with Bowtech almost every year I can remember. At least at one point in time in the season, I got the first deer with that Bowtech SS34. I got a really nice one with the SS Solution last year. But Bowtech, man, during these reviews, there's not much that you'll hear me say negatively about these bows. I don't think. I haven't shot this one. But we'll also do a little, I had a lot of questions in the shop about what is the difference between the Amplify and the Alter from Diamond? And we'll do like a little comparison because I feel like I get these questions a lot. And the other thing I realized in the shop that this thing was kind of selling, like I think in the last 4 Saturdays, they've sold like 3 or 4 of these. So like people are buying them, which also kind of made me more intrigued. But the Alter, Amplify, same bow, okay? Virtually the same bow, different engine. So we talk about that a lot. You switch up the engine, and when I say engine, I mean the cam system. You can get a very different feel from the bow, and the specs will minorly change. So the Alter gets 1 extra inch on the draw length, so it goes from 21 out to 31, where the Amplify goes from 21 out to 30. Also, that change of that brace height is going to slow it down a hair. So you got 335 feet per second, and then the Alter gets 330 feet per second. They're both 31.5 axle to axle. They both weigh 4 pounds. One of them weighs 4.1. They both get this enormous fluctuation of draw weight. So you go 8 out to 70. And one thing I like about that, and we'll go over everything, but on the draw weight on the front of it, there's these little markers. So if you're somebody that is maybe new to archery, or is going to see yourself constantly kind of gradually growing, changing that draw weight, getting stronger, or somebody who's beginning, an adult that wants to start lower, work on their fundamentals, and kind of pull back at a lower weight to kind of develop their form and sees themselves changing. There's these little markers on the front, which I love, so you can make sure and get the bottom and the top exact, and you can know how much you're increasing and decreasing. So that's something that I like on there. The limb pockets, so you got plastic limb pockets though, which I talk about. That's like the one thing for a $650 bow, I think they should give you a little bit better limb pockets. You know, these ones are plastic. The riser, you got a nice aluminum riser. The grip is a little very different than the other grips we've seen. This actually resembles more of some of these Expeditions that we've seen in here. And then you have your dual limbs. This is also the same riser that they used on the Edge 320 that I did a review on, but that was a single limb bow. And then you have the difference in the cam system. So the rest of the bow is very basic, cable rod sliding on the cable, which somebody gave some input the other day, and that you can buy a couple different pieces. One of them is called the Hyperglide, and that is going to, it has like a ball bearing plastic piece that kind of smooths that out. That's something that I've always mentioned, is that can get a little jerky, but that's something in addition you can buy and add on, which I'm gonna have to do that. So whoever recommended that, thank you. And then you have, on this one particularly, I don't have the Alter here, but on this one it has a nice cam system. So you have those 3 screws and washers that I really like to see. Those are really nice. They don't seem to strip. You can get everything really nice and tightened down. And then you have your limb stop, which you can adjust. This bow, to me, one of my favorite parts about this bow is that, if you have never bought a bow before, but you see yourself kind of a hands-on person, this bow is so easy to adjust. Everything is just so simple. It's straightforward. You have your number system on there, a really obvious lineup with that peg going in there for the draw length. You can switch your limb stop very easily as well, just matching your numbers. So it's all a number system, very simple to use. The draw weight adjustment kind of chart right here in the front, which kind of allows you to see that. So again, the whole thing is made for somebody who is gonna see themselves wanting to do this at home. I feel like this is a great bow for that. Very simple and straightforward to use. The other big difference between the cam change is that you get an orbit dampener here on the Amplify. So on the bottom down here, you get one of those orbit dampeners, which I love. And then other than that, man, you got the same bow. So again, I think some companies, it's just something you see. It's just something you see from time to time. You see very, very similar bows, different cam systems. They use pieces from other different bows, different molds, and they try to recreate these bows to try to get new bows. They call it something different. They put it out. It is what it is. Again, I would try everything because even though they're two different bows, the cam system can really switch it up. They can feel different. So let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and shoot this. Then we'll go outside. It's a little rainy, but I think I'm just gonna battle through, and we're just gonna get that freestyle shoot in no matter what. If you're looking to just start shooting, you're really excited, go for it. None of this is stuff that you can't just improve on in the near future. Eventually, you'll probably want to get a rest that does micro adjustments. It just makes your tuning process a little easier. You want to get a really nice sight. If you want to shoot out to farther distances, you know, a sight that's adjustable. And then the stabilizer, maybe that's something you invest in last to kind of give that bow that final touch. But all of this is something, it's like an investment. You just kind of keep adding on to, but the bow itself I think is a fine bow for $650. If you want to buy a little package that goes with it, go ahead. I always say you're going to find yourself back in there purchasing more stuff later. Just keep that in mind. So we got I know this has been shot a bunch because this is one of the samples in the shop, but you know, if that was the first pull back out of the box, I would be like, okay, maybe it's gonna loosen up, but I know this has been shot a bunch, but that is stiff. And again, this goes from 80 to 70, so this whole system is meant to, you know, something you grow with, and then eventually you get to that 70 mark and you can make the decision, hey, I need to upgrade to something else. I've been shooting this for a while, but I guess the real test here today is, can you just go in and buy this as a hunter? You know, somebody who's grown, who knows that wants to shoot 70 pounds, is a 29.5 or 30 inch draw, is this a good bow for you? I guess is going to be the question by the end, but that is stiff. I mean, it kind of eases up. Something else is, again, I'm at 30 inches. I'm feeling a little short, but this is maxed out on the draw length. At those really, you know, I think this thing, if you're beginning and you have it set at 45 or 50 pounds, this thing probably feels like butter. I can just tell the shape of the cam, everything. I'm anticipating the tail end really good. Like I know that it's gonna, you know, I know it's going to have a drop off on me. So right here, I'm kind of like making sure that I don't. And also it kind of has a nice back wall to it. Once you get it back, it wants to hold for you. It has a little vibration in the hand, which I feel like is just a normal, what you're gonna get with this setup. You got the plastic limb pockets. There's not much dampening on the actual bow itself. It just, you know, and then you kind of has this plastic grip that's screwed in there. So again, that's not all one, you know, one piece. But again, if you're a beginner or the person that this bow is designed to be sold to, I don't think you would ever know the difference or ever know anything but that. So I think this is what I get on my comments all the time. Well, I bought it. It was my first bow and I love it and I still shoot it and it works well for me. Okay, yeah, but, and again, I'm sure it does, but you know, it's hard to comment on a review when you don't have any of that perspective. You know, this has a lot of vibration in this hand comparatively to other bows. The draw cycle is extremely stiff comparatively to other bows. If you look online and you read the description on this bow, I forgot what it said, but it was talking it up. And I'm not saying this isn't, you know, we'll see how it performs outside. And that's why we do a little bit variety of tests, because this initial assessment doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to perform like I want it to. It's just me evaluating and comparing to other bows that we've shot in here. So it's stiff. That one I anticipated well, so that got a little bit smoother. Maybe with that Hyperglide on there, it would even smooth out a little bit more. And then you got a little bit of vibration in your hand, and naturally that thing wants to torque on me just a little bit at my draw length, but we'll see how that plays into effect once we step out to those longer ranges. All right, on to the Freestyle Shoot. I'm just gonna start letting them rip. We have 3D targets at all different depths. From up here, we got bores at 25. We got these 2 bucks at 30. I like the bucks quartering one to you, one away from you, because I feel like those are the shots that I'm taking the most, and I love to practice kind of those 2 shots. All of the targets are set up in a way, kind of put some thought into them. So let's go right from the bat bore. So I have kind of skeeted the last couple of reviews. Not skeeted, but like I didn't shoot as many shots as like I usually do. Things come up, family stuff, whatever. But I got a whole day. There's not anybody here, so I'm really gonna put some through this. And also, I love this weather. This is like when it finally feels like hunting season. Is when I get the most excited. So that's probably potentially a liver shot. There goes the heart. I feel a good sense of torque on this, which is not something I would say on the flagship bows by Bowtech that I ever thought twice about. I thought they set up even the Solution SS, which was a shorter axle to axle bow from last year. I love the way it's set up. This has, you know, there's a little bit of counterbalance effort that I'm kind of having to put through this. Let's do the buck quartering away one more time. Let's see if we can't. There we go. But I think that first shot on that buck, I wasn't paying close enough attention, and that bubble was sitting to the left. So it's kind of wanting to lean to the right. I don't know. It doesn't want to sit balanced. Sometimes bows just seem to be more balanced than others. Again, everything we do, once we get to like longer ranges, some of that will stand out more significantly. So let's go over to the gazebo. We'll shoot some longer shots. All right, so now we're gonna climb this 3D ladder, we call it. The leaves are falling. It's cool out. You can't beat this time of year. I don't even love the cold, but like hunting cold is fine. You know, if I'm hunting, I'm fine with it. If I'm not hunting, I hate the cold, but this feels like fall. It feels good. Let's go turkey at 20. Yeah, again, we talk about this all the time, shorter draw length, maybe a little bit less poundage, maybe some of that torque would go away. But at my draw length, this thing seems to just, it has some mean torque, I don't know. Again, if you're conscious about it, you can level it out, it will settle down. But at the beginning, the natural pull the bow wants to go when you get set up is not balanced. Let's go buck at 30. I will say the draw cycle has smoothed out with my anticipation of that hump. It's maybe not as stiff as I was complaining about in the beginning, but all around, I feel like Bowtech is, it's like, man, for as much as I praise their flagship bows, it's like, I feel like they can give us more than this. Someone's gonna hear that and they're gonna gripe, but it's like, man, I feel like for the price tag, give us a little bit more. I mean, not only did you take away the deadlock system, but you pretty much took away like every other flagship thing on the bow. So it's like you gave us the ultimate budget bow and you still want like a hefty price for it, which I don't know. So the arrows come off nice. I mean, we'll see with that quick 50, you know, how much that torque I'm feeling at the beginning can be dialed down, how quickly you can settle this down. So now let's go to we'll go black bear 40 and we'll do a full draw stall on that little bear. So mama black bear. The reason I like giving you the full draw stall is you can't tell anything within the first 10 seconds of hold. So people pull it back and like, this has a nice back wall, you know? The stability is real nice. It's like, so again, let's say like your sight's off and you start shooting really far down range, if it was a little bit off, it would be magnified down range. Same with the full draw stall. The longer you hold it, the more fatigued you get, the little bit of instability will be, you know, will show itself. That's why I like it. So we'll go 1 minute, full draw stall, little Paddington. Oh, I knew something sounded loose. My limb stop came loose. But the whole time I'm holding back, I'm not just trying to hold back. Like I'm observing those pens the whole time. Like, how does the bow move? Can you consistently for a long period of time keep that pen as still as possible? If you do the full draw stall with many different bows, you will see, wow, that pen, it just set in. It's like it locks in place and it just kind of like sets itself in, where others, you're constantly countering, trying to slow the pen down from moving. And with this one, it wasn't nearly as bad as I was thinking, but you are like, you know, slowly in your head, kind of like re-countering, trying to get the pen to die down. And then when you do finally take a shot, it's almost like you're taking a shot in motion. It's not 100% sturdy, and that's kind of like, that's what it'll show you, the full draw stall. So we've had questions about that in the comments, but I think it's one of the best things you can do for, yeah, if you really want to see how stable your bow is. So I don't know like everybody's range. You know, I get to go out to 58 here at the house, so that's why I shoot at the most. I'll occasionally get somewhere where I can shoot farther, and I think the theory behind that is the farther you shoot, you're shooting 80 shots, practicing 80 shots, feeling good about that. Then when you get that 35, 40 yard chip shot, you know, 40 yard shot in the field, it feels like a chip shot. You know, so I feel like it's good to get out to those farther ranges if you can, occasionally. I think personally going from 40 to 50 yards is a very, you know, is a nice depth, again, for the stability. That little bit of pen movement you might see at 40, but you can manage. Once you get out to 50, that's when it's like, ooh, okay. You know, it stands out more. So, again, I like shooting at this 50 yard elk. That's like my bread and butter. And then when I get that 30 yard shot, it feels effortless, you know. So 50 yards, elk up on the hill. This one might take a little second. We'll have to make some adjustments. So again, I feel like naturally that torque, I mean, you really gotta be conscious of it because it's kind of mean, you know, that the natural torque. I don't know if you went back and saw my Edge 320 video with that bow. It had that single limb, that solo limb. I didn't feel comfortable shooting at that 50 yards. So with this one, having a little bit wider platform, I'm comfortable to get out there, but it's not necessarily comfortable. I'm not necessarily, I don't feel really good about where these are going. But if I was to, by the end of the day, we might have the end of the day, I might have a different assessment. But again, out to 50, just 40 to 50. That 40 yard shot felt so good. 50 yards with some bows just brings out the worst in them, you know. I guess that's the best way to put it. But once again, you know, send this to Diamond. It's crazy to me how much I love and talk up Bowtech, and how much Diamond is just not my favorite. I feel like they could be really giving us some better quality stuff with the engineers and the mindset that backs Bowtech, this giant, my favorite company. And then you get these other bows that just, I don't know. I always feel slightly disappointed. Slightly. Okay, on to one of my favorite parts of the review process. For somebody who doesn't factor in like a 10 feet per second difference when choosing a bow, like if I had two, they were 10 feet per second different. Like, I'm not gonna necessarily just choose the fast one just because. There's a lot of other things that I take into consideration when choosing a bow. Some guys, speed's all that matters. But for somebody who doesn't factor it into every decision, I love this test. I love this part of it. So the Amplify gets 335. The Alter, let's just say it's semi-twin, or it's Siamese twin, the Alter gets 330. So again, 5 feet per second, that's not gonna factor in. I would shoot both, and I would go completely off comfortability and hold. They both get a speed that is fine for me. So we got 70 pounds, 30 inches on the draw, 500 grain arrow. This is the arrow that we'll use in the grading at the end. So 272. I think I've mentioned a couple things before, but I have so many different stories from buddies that have that shoot a lot less speed, either because their draw length is very short, or they just use a heavier arrow, and they have you know, hunting stories that always blow me away. So it's not, you know, and then you might have some of your own experiences that, you know, you're not getting pass-throughs. You know, other things might have factored in, but you don't necessarily know, so you just want to bump up the speed just to make sure, kind of give yourself the benefit of the doubt that you're going to get the most kinetic energy possible. I think 270 to 280. If you're beginning and those are the speeds that you're getting, I think that's something that you can be happy with and you can count on and rely on. So we're in the 260s. If it teeters, I like to shoot my 5 arrows and we'll take the average, especially with the 500 grain arrow that we're going to use for the test. 267. I'm going to go ahead and say that these 260 shots are probably a hair more accurate when plugging it into a calculator online. This is kind of what I would expect. That's a duplicate, so we're going to go 260 for the speed, 6 out of 10. And to be honest, anything with a 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 in this whole grading system, to me, is sufficient. You want to be as high as you can, but those are all killing speeds, okay? For the 40 and under shot, 40 yards and under, those are great speeds. Let's go a little bit lighter arrow. So this is something else, you know, if you want to hunt with a little lighter arrow, it's easily can bump up these speeds. This is a 440 grain arrow, so 60 grains lighter. It'll probably be in the 285s, right where we want to be. 283. Okay, and then if you're one of those guys, you like to throw that thumper, you know, and you just like a heavier arrow, trying to get the most FOC, whatever it may be, that you end up with that 600, almost 600 grain arrow. This is 560. That's 260. So that didn't really drop that much. Between the 500 and 560, you're looking at like a 5 feet per second difference, which again, when you start flexing with the weight, with many different bows, you will see a variation of fluctuation. Everything does not always equal out. I've mentioned that before. Let's go ahead, let's flip it around. We'll get a sound test on this. All right, so on to the sound test. Lately, we've been getting a whole bunch of bows that have been very similar in sound, and then you get the comments like, hey, I think it's the noise is the decibel reader picking up the arrow hitting the bag instead of the actual bow. So if you turn this around, you can see that bag is really far outside. I'm gonna go ahead and assume it's gonna pick up the sound from the bow, which is about 18 centimeters from the decibel reader, instead of the bag, which is outside of the garage, you know, 25 feet away. So again, this is just my little area where I can do this assessment of the sound, and this is kind of what we're going with until we can find something different. But most of them have been right in their 90s and above. I think the other thing that really separates and makes me believe otherwise is that we've gotten some bows that are 86, and then we've gotten some bows that are 94. So I think it is a very small fluctuation to the human ear, to the decibel reader, magnified to the animal, and that's why it's so important. Let's go ahead. So 89.4. That's right under where I was thinking. I was thinking it was going to be kind of right in that 90s, right in the middle. 91.7. 90.9. 90.7. Okay, so right in there in the middle. Here's my assessment on sound. and this is a personal perspective from a hunter. I think if you're a good hunter, you're going to get yourself within the red zone. Some people say, well, if you're a good hunter, you should be able to take up a 60-yard shot. True, the right conditions, I agree with that. I'm trying to get 40 and under. That's how I have evaluated as I've grown as a hunter. Am I able to get myself in that red zone undetected and place that shot that I want to take and not being forced to take? So I think all of these bows, every bow that we've done, 40 and under, this does not factor in as much as if it did in a very calm scenario out to like 55, 60 yards. Then that thud and the movement of the animal is really going to make a difference. 40, you're pushing it. 30, 20-yard shots, you know, those chip shots, I don't think this factors in almost at all in my experience. Not to the level of bows, the quality, the speed that we're at today. You know, maybe 10, 12, 15 years ago, when the speeds were way different, I think that's when they started advertising for the quietness of a bow that's just factored in and carried all the way to 2024, where they're still talking about like the quietness of a bow without ever like circling back and being like, yeah, but this one does get 350 IBO feet per second compared to back in the day, maybe 300. It's like, okay, well, that's gonna make a huge difference. So I like that we do the sound test. I like that there is some separation, but if you're new, speed and sound to me, that's not what I'm buying a bow off of. I'm buying a bow off of simply, honestly, comfortability at full draw and how solid it holds. Stability, that's hands down, that's what I'm looking for. You can't, I mean, we do these reviews, it's like that's my final assessment. After all the reviews we've done, each bow is gonna perform. The more you work with it, the better you're gonna get with it. They all get pretty good speed. Some get better than others, some are quieter than others. But in the end, you want stability. A well-placed shot, being a experienced hunter, getting yourself in the red zone, being patient, having that shot IQ, knowing the anatomy of the animal, all of that is gonna factor in more than the speed and the sound. That's my 2 cents. All right, I'm gonna start this off by saying if you haven't recognized and realized, there are so many different bows. I mean, good God, I keep finding new ones every time I look around. You know, the more we've done this process, the more I've kind of been noticed, keep my eyes open and notice things. And then you realize, like, I always knew there was a lot of bows, but God, I feel like there are so many. Okay, so if you are trying to make a decision, the very best thing to do is to shoot them, okay? Watch the review, you know, get a little bit more information, but in the end, I encourage you to get into a shop, shoot some different bows. If you only have one shot, go in, shoot 3 different bows. 2 will stand out more than others. If you can't make a decision, wait a week and come back. I think that's gonna be your best option of finding something that's comfortable and that suits you. I would like to see something else from Diamond and Bowtech's budget bows. I love Bowtech so much, I feel like I can say this and kind of dig in a little bit because I put them on this pedestal of they're my favorite company, Bowtech. I think they're my favorite bows to shoot. Every single bow I pick up from them I love. Really, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about their flagship bows. But when you get to their budget bows and you get into Diamond bows, I don't like them. I don't know, there's something about them that just, I feel like with the technology and the advancements that they have, we can get something more out of these Diamond and budget bows from them. So again, I think I have been slacking. I shot this one as much as I could. I'm sweating, okay? Minimum 200 arrows. Where I kind of like, you know, I know how I felt about some of these other flagship bows that we've recently done, and I'd shoot them and have some fun and go about my day, but like this one I really kind of dug in. I shot this a bunch. Gradually got a little bit more consistent with it towards the end. Any bows that you're supposed to grow with, that have that huge fluctuation, it always seems to be a little bit less consistent and stable on the tail end, which is usually about 30 inches, which is my draw. So right off the bat, you got the 265. 265, so you got a 6 out of 10 there, okay? Durability and quality, I gave it a 7. Would have liked to see some different limb pockets. The grip, I don't think helped at all, playing to the vibration of the bow. sliding rod, the string style, all of it, you got just the most basic of bows. The only thing on this bow that I would consider a flagship quality is the cams and mods. I gave it a 7 there. Gave it a 7 for the appeal. Even though Bowtech is my favorite bows to shoot, they're not my favorite style of bows. Like if I had a style and I had a bow that I think looked the best, it wouldn't be Bowtech's. That's just, they're just not. But I love the flagship so much, I overlook it. These ones, they're just, again, I know that doesn't factor into the performance, okay? But man, do we all love that. I've had guys be like, hey, I can't get a bow that's Sitka camo because what if I switch up my camo, then I can't, you know, it's like we all care about it even though we don't voice it, or a lot of us do. And I'm one of them. I like things to match. I like things to look good. I like my setup to look good. It's just a part of it to me. It's fun. If it doesn't to you, great. That's fine. I throw that in there for me. And then you go technology. I gave it a 6. I do like the fact that it fluctuates so much for those of you who want to grow with a bow, but the rest of it, you know, again, we're in these basic of technology. And then you go performance, I gave it a 7 out of 10 too. I think, again, just comparing back to what we just did, I did the MB Blackout, MB3 by Blackout. I like that one a little bit better. I think it performed a little bit better, but I still gave that the same performance. And then you have the last one we did, the Expedition APX. I think that one performed a little bit better for me. So I gave it 1 less because I just kind of want to create some separation between them. Now, again, budget bows, flagship bows. Like I said inside, if you are a good archer, okay, and you can get inside the red zone and you're within 20 to 40 yards of an animal, all of these will perform with practice. You know, so you want to practice as much as you can. You will get consistent and better with it. You want to find something that's comfortable to you, and then you want to get yourself in that. You want to get yourself in the red zone. That's like kind of the main goal. And this thing would perform fine. It got great speeds. It held fine. Everything else that I didn't necessarily love on it for performance, it was just preference. So overall, it gets a 34 times by 2. You got a 68. It does get to make up 2 extra bonus points. So a nice round 70 out of 100. I think that is a generous grade for this bow. And I think if we did the altar, I think it would get almost the exact same. So if you're trying to distinguish between them, go shoot them. Okay, go shoot them. They're gonna get almost the same speeds. They're probably gonna have a little bit different feel, but it is virtually almost the same bow sold on 2 different platforms called 2 different things. I'm sure all these companies hate me for just pointing out the obvious, but it's like, they are. So if you have a shop closest to you that holds the altar, get it. If you have a shop closest to you that holds the Amplify, get it. They're the same price, same bow. You know, I hope you find something in this review process that's helpful to you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We love interaction. I love kind of learning from you guys as you have learned from me. This is my favorite category of bows. I love the budget bow category. I'm gonna go ahead and just challenge Diamond. Give us something, give us a little more. Give us a little more. I know you guys can. Your flagship bows are above and beyond. You know, it's incredible some of the flagship bows that Bowtech has put out. I think this is just the minimum from them. I would like to see more. I don't know, I would like to see more. Above all else, no matter what you're shooting, get your reps in. See you next week.